Hello everyone. It's James again. And today I want to talk about something very important. And that is the hard life of the survivor of narcissistic abuse. And I'm not talking about this topic to complain about what we've gone through and many are still going through. But I speak about this topic to acknowledge for what it is. And to encourage you to continue to fight through your life disappointments, issues, and struggles. You see, this for most of us started when we were very young. And it seemed that every one of the good things that we might have been good at were taken from us or sabotaged. You see, the narcissist parent or parents do not want their children to have productive lives. And even if they come from a rich family, they will still try to stunt their life growth. So they will need to depend on their rich family for everything. Yes. So the narcissist can get the narcissistic supply. But it's something greater than the supply right there in the moment they are getting. By seeing the disappointment and pain on your face, as they rip the rug of trust out from under you once again. But they want to make sure your life is miserable even when they aren't around. They want to know or at least assume you are struggling. Even when they can't see what is happening in your life. They want to be able to sit back and think and know you are in the prison of your own life. A life they created. And a life circumstance they have sentenced you to. A life where your talents, dreams and goals aren't recognized or used. A life where you are working a job. Where you are underappreciated. And in some cases where you have to go through the same emotional abuse you went through as a child all over again. And I'm reminded of this every time I see Rocky. In the first Rocky movie, he earns a meager $40.55 for winning a very rough professional boxing match in a rough part of town, with rough people in the crowd calling him a bum. His highlight is whistling at the dogs in the window at the closed pet shop. As it's nighttime, the pet shop, where Adrian, the woman he likes, works at, and having a playful interaction with some people on the corner singing doo-wop music. And yes, the main guy singing is Sylvester Stallone's real brother Frank. At first, when he got paid such a low amount for such a high risk, you see the empty and dejected and almost accepting look on his face. As if to say, his life is just like this. Nothing new. But at the same time, a look of empty sadness, if that makes sense. Then he comes to life as he sees the puppies in the window and jokes around with the guys singing on the corner. Then he goes into his run-down apartment, where he starts to talk to his goldfish and turtles. Then he stands in front of a mirror, holding a can of turtle food, rehearsing a joke. He wants to tell Adrian tomorrow when he plans to stop by the pet shop, just so he can have any kind of interaction with her, even though she seems to never speak. And in the middle of rehearsing this joke, he can't get it right and gets frustrated with himself. And I think this is a call back to Sylvester Stallone's real educational problems he had growing up, where likely reading and speaking up in class was probably very hard for him. Not because he wasn't bright, but because he wasn't given a chance and was likely made fun of. And the more he was made fun of, the more he fought, and the less he learned, and the worse his ability to share and express himself became. I can relate to this. Though I wasn't trying to fight everyone that made fun of me. I sadly most of the time just took it. I only fought when I was physically attacked. But I would go to school every day, scared my homework was done wrong. And my teacher would call me out in front of the class as a result. You see, this goes back into the narcissists want you to have a hard and disappointing life. Because most of the time the teachers that behaved in such a way knew what was going on. And knew a kid like me had no support at home. And instead of helping me, I was taunted and made fun of. And put on display in front of the class so they could laugh at all of my mistakes. Which is a topic all onto itself I want to talk about later. But it seemed one issue just compounded upon each other. And the character Rocky's life was likely the same. Though you don't see or hear about how Rocky grew up. He's a 30-year-old man. That by all accounts is a kind-hearted man. But he has a job. Collecting for the mafia. Where he refuses to hurt the people he collects from. And when his friend and future brother-in-law keeps on asking him to put in a good word for him with his boss, so he can be a collector too, Rocky always changes the subject. Or says, it's a bad job. And then he starts to talk about something else. But how did Rocky end up in front of a mirror examining his life in his mind without any words? After he looks at a picture of himself that's posted on the side of the mirror. Of himself when he was likely in the 3rd or 4th grade. When if someone actually helped him and didn't mistreat him, he wouldn't be living in a crappy apartment, working a job that he hates, and getting paid peanuts for fighting dangerous fights. He's not just looking at himself with that thought of, what the heck went wrong? But it's a lost yet sad yet angry look in his face. As if to say, why didn't someone help me when I was a child? Why didn't anyone care about me at all? The truth is this was Sylvester Stallone's life for real. Down to some of the clothes he was wearing in this movie. He walked into that dirty and dark apartment with heaviness and pain you can feel around him. The loneliness and sorrow. Even as he talks to his turtles and goldfish. And that pain and loneliness surrounded him perfectly. Because it was his real life. As he grew up like many of us. No love. No help. And constant sabotaging of his life and dreams. The look on his face. Is the look the narcissist in your life and all of the narcissists that you've met over your life want you to have. They want you to feel helpless and hopeless. Lost and confused. And alone. God didn't make us to be alone. At least long term anyway. He can't stand to see us dejected and broken-hearted. But the devil and the narcissist love to see the hurt and sadness and disappointment in your eyes. The last thing they want to see your life end like is with a hard-fought life victory. A victory Rocky almost didn't get. A victory all of those that mistreated the Rocky character in his growing up years would have to see. From once living in poverty and not able to use his kindness to help others. Even though he tried. Even if it was advice in regards to telling a young girl, whose brother he knew, to not hang out with her troublemaker friends. Or picking up a drunk man outside of a bar and bringing him inside. As it was cold outside and Rocky likely didn't want him to get sick or die. But when he won. And he didn't win his first go-around. And didn't think there would be a second go-around. But when he won. He started to give of his time for charities and to help others. You see. The devil knows who the Rockies are. And so does his narcissists. They want you to be this until your life is over. And to live in your own mind with all of the things you would like to do. And knowing you can never do them. And will prevent you and do everything they can to set you up for failure. So you will never end up like this. The shining example of what you see in your mind and what you know you can be if you just can have that chance. Or if you had some help along the way. The devil doesn't want you to experience love and marriage. And having someone care about you. You see. I do plan on making more videos. As some have requested. Talking about Rocky in relationship to narcissistic abuse and narcissistic abuse survivors. And I was going to mention later what I'm going to mention now. But I don't think it would be a shock to think and know. That at least the first movies were an example of the love he wished he had. He started off in this movie alone. Dirt poor. And one would guess if his life kept going the way it was going. The ending wouldn't have been good. But something happens. He meets a woman that loves him for who he is. Not for what he has or doesn't have. She lives in the neighborhood and Adrian has seen. Though he's a tough man. He is kind to almost everyone he meets. And he has a kid-like quality to him that is real and genuine. So he finds love. and he gets a surprise chance opportunity of a lifetime. And though he amazes the world for just going the distance against the great Apollo Creed, Rocky gets a second shot. And as Apollo is knocked to the floor by Rocky, and Rocky falls to the floor with him, from the momentum of his punch and from sheer exhaustion. And as both men try to stand up before the other, and as Rocky is desperately grasping for the ropes to aid in him trying to stand back up, when I look into his face, I see that picture of a young Sylvester Stallone. And I envision him daydreaming in his classroom at school. Daydreaming of standing up one day and winning. He's not sure how. He's not sure where. But of one day not being mistreated, used, and kicked to the side of life. And daydreaming of one day being in love and having a better life. Rocky, he's a good story of redemption after the devil did his best against him. And he was rewarded with more than double for his trouble. You see, when I was a child, after my father was removed from my life by my narcissist mother and then he passed away, and growing up in the situation I grew up in, God gave me the example of Rocky. And though I knew nothing about how Sylvester Stallone grew up, all I knew was I felt the emotional pain. And I connected to the story being told. And likely like Sylvester Stallone, and like many of you, we daydreamt about a better life. A life with love. But in order to get where we want to go, we are going to have to put in the effort and work to get it. And we are going to likely have to work 3 times as hard as everyone else. Simply because all of the purposeful setbacks thrown in our way by the narcissists in our lives. But we must keep on trying and never ever give up on ourselves and never ever give up on God's love for us. Because you never know what wonderful thing God has in store for our lives. With that said, I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time, bye for now. And be good to yourself.